Hi YouTube, welcome to my first JavaScript tutorial. Today we are going to be talking about variables and operators. First of all, I've got a index.html file which I've opened up in Notepad++. Any text editor will do, but I like Notepad++. So we'll start by making the bare bones of an HTML document, which we do by first of all declaring our doc type as HTML. That's the standard HTML5 doc type declaration, which isn't strictly required. It will work without it, but it's good practice to have it there. We've got our starting and closing HTML tags, and inside that we've got our starting and closing head tags and our starting and closing body tags. Now, to put JavaScript into a page, we use the script tag, and the script tag can go in the head tag, it can go in the body tag, it can go anywhere in the HTML file. A lot of people say to put it in the head tag, but I would recommend putting it at the very bottom after your closing HTML tag. And that's the script tag. Now, by default, most browsers, well, all browsers I think, will assume that a script tag has JavaScript in it and you want the JavaScript to run. But to make sure, and for good practice, we can either use language JavaScript, that's setting the attribute language to the value JavaScript, and that's JavaScript with a capital J and a capital S. Or, alternatively, we can set the type attribute to text/JavaScript, JavaScript in lowercase. But the language is preferred. Now, if we want to include a separate file where we have our JavaScript, then all we need to do is write source and then put the name of the file, which will have a .js extension to indicate that it's a JavaScript file. But because we're going to put our JavaScript within the script tag, we don't have a source attribute. We're going to put our JavaScript in here. So the first thing is comments. To make a comment in JavaScript, you put two dashes like this, and we say, here is a comment, which is a note for us that will be completely ignored by the browser. That's a single line comment. To do a multi-line comment, we use the / and the asterisk, and then another asterisk and a / to end the comment, and that's a multi-line comment. Okay, on to variables. To declare a variable in JavaScript, we use the var keyword, and then we give the variable a name. And when giving the variable a name, we can use numbers and letters, but we have to make sure that it begins with a letter and not with a number. We can't use a number to begin with, we have to use a letter. So we will call our variable a local variable. And we can use a semicolon to terminate the line, which means that we're finished inputting the command. And then normally we would take a new line to input a new command. Now, if I leave that set as is, it will have created a variable called a local variable. And I'll get on to why I'm calling it a local variable in a moment. But it won't have given it any value, which means it will be set to null. And I can also explicitly set it to null by using =, which is an assignment operator, and then setting it to null, which is a special data type in JavaScript, which basically means there's nothing there. Or I could set it equal to a number, or I could set it equal to a float, which is a decimal number. Integer number is a whole number. Or I could set it to a string. And I can do that using double quotes or single quotes, but I have to use the same quote to start and to finish the string. If I want to use a single quote inside a string that is contained within single quotes, like so, I have to use the backspace to escape the character. And the same would apply if I was using double quotes. It's important to note that when you escape a character using the backslash will not be displayed. And I can also store single characters in exactly the same way. Now JavaScript allows me to change a variable from holding a number to holding a string or a character, and there's never any errors as a result of that, or rarely any errors as a result of that. It's quite free and loose in that sense. Now I'm going to declare another variable, and I'm going to call it a global variable. And I'm going to set that equal to the number 0. Now notice when I declare a global variable, I just type the variable name and assign it to 0. There's no var keyword in front of the variable, and that means that the variable is a global variable and can be accessed anywhere within the script at any time. If the variable is declared with a var at the front of it, it means it's a local variable and can only be accessed most of the time within the scope in which it is declared, which would make not a lot of difference at this point in time, but it's something to keep in mind for future reference. Okay, so we've covered how to create a variable. Now we can start playing with our variables and see what we can do. I can concatenate onto the end of a local variable another letter. So here I've got a local variable declared and set equal to A, and then I concatenate onto the end of it the letter B. So at this point a local variable would be equal to AB. I can also perform the same concatenation using the plus symbol like this. And what this does is it sets a local variable to whatever a local variable was before plus C. I can also set a local variable to 0, and then I can increase it by 1, like so, by using 2 plus symbols, or I can add a number or a float to it, like so. So at this point, a local variable would be equal to 4, 0, increment makes it 1, plus 2, 3, 4. And I could do the same thing using the shorthand, just like I did when it was a string. So whether or not the plus symbol performs arithmetic addition, or whether or not it concatenates strings, depends upon whether or not the variable is a string, or whether or not the variable is a number or a float. But when I increment, that is always assuming that the variable stores a number. I can also decrement, like so, which decreases by 1, And I can divide. So I can set a local variable equal to 7 divided by 4. I can set a local variable to 8 times 3. And to divide, I use the forward slash. And to multiply, I use the asterisk. I can also subtract. I can do 5 minus 4. And I use the subtract symbol to subtract. Pretty straightforward. Okay, that's us discussed variables and operators in JavaScript, and in the next tutorial I'm going to discuss functions and arrays.